Good morning and welcome to A Morning Practice. I'm Simon Greer and that's Tom Scott, the co-founder of the Nantucket Project. And we're joined today by Nadia bolz-weber. Hi, Nadia.
Hey.
Nadia is a good friend of the Nantucket Project. She's also a Lutheran pastor and a best-selling author. I'd say I've come to love Nadia for her truth-telling, for her wit, and for her insight. She's been an inspiration to me, and I know to you, Tom, at the Nantucket Project, but also far beyond it. And we couldn't be more excited about having you here today. So welcome, Nadia.
Thanks. I'm really happy to spend some time with you guys.
That's great. It's our practice to start off with gratitude. And so, Nadia, I'm going to kick it to you first, actually, to just share something that you're feeling grateful for this morning. And then we'll go to you, Tom, and then back to me. So, Nadia.
I am deeply grateful that I have, that my family is still healthy, and that I get to still be a productive person while quarantined in my apartment, that I'm not going as stir crazy as those who have a different type of work they do in the world. So I'm grateful for the work I get to do, that I have meaningful work, and my family's healthy for now.
Thanks, Nadia. Tom?
I'm grateful for April 30th, just this notion that we're going to do this for a month. And I'm saying that because I'm sure there's good and bad in it, by the way, but it is clarity, and it's shared clarity. And I feel like for me, it makes me think differently about my family, differently about my work, differently about the people out there. And, I think it also lets me focus more on the frontline people, because those people are going out every day. And it's kind of like, we're going to do our job and they're going to do their job. And by doing our job, we make their job at least a little bit easier. There's other ways we can do that. But I think just clarity is helpful, that this is the new norm.
Thanks. Yeah, my gratitude was similar to yours, actually, Nadia. I was thinking that I still have a job, and I still make money. Like, I can make a living being remote, being isolated. I can still do it. And I was just thinking what it would be like if supplies in the fridge were running low and I had no income and people were telling me to stay home and like, look at my kids. It's like, well, no, at some point, no, I'm going to go figure out how to make some money because I got to provide. And just the sense of relief, like I can still make a living sitting right here. So I feel really grateful for that.
I actually wrote and published some prayers on my my little online publication called The Corners yesterday. And just one of them was for the ways that we have taken for granted how many layers of comfort and convenience surround us. We ask for forgiveness, all of these layers of comfort and convenience, I have always just thought of as normal. And when you think of something as normal, you don't know to be grateful for it. You don't know to see how you have that and others don't. You don't know how to even question, is it good?
Yeah. It would be such an interesting practice in a way to count the layers of comfort, like you can literally count, what do I have to fall back on if this comes undone? So Anyway, thanks. So we move from gratitude to meditation.
We're going to start with a brief sound meditation. So just soften your gaze. You can even look down towards the floor. Notice your breath for a moment, anywhere in your body where it's easy for you to notice it. So that could be at the base of the nostrils. It can be gently moving in your chest. You might even feel the breath moving all the way down into your low belly. Allow your attention to float from sound to sound. all together. I'm gonna invite in a long breath through the nose for 4 counts. So breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the mouth. Good. One more like that. Breathing in again, 2, 3, 4, and exhale through the mouth. This time, we're gonna exhale with a long extended ah, just on one tone. So your tone might not match mine. So breathing in nice and full. Thank you so much.
I like getting to start with a little bit of quiet and stillness, and we move from meditation then into journaling. So I'm just gonna set my timer here for 2 minutes, and grab a pen or a piece of paper or a journal if you have it, and we'll just write for 2 minutes, and then we'll talk about what we wrote. All right, finish up writing your sentence. And maybe Nadia, if you're up for it, we'll go to you first. If you're open to sharing something you were journaling about, we'd love to hear.
So that part at the end where people were asked to sort of sing a tone collectively. I was raised in this religious tradition that was completely a cappella. So I have sung 4-part harmony a cappella my whole life. It was my first language for sure. And it's a huge part of my spirituality. Like my soul soars when I'm singing with other people. And being in isolation, it's not an option. I mean, in the shower today, I mean, I'm like, I am not somebody who's opposed to like rules. I think rules are really important for other people, but they've just never been, I've just always seen, like, I get why they exist. I'm really grateful they exist for other people. But for me to follow them has always been a hard thing. Like I'm always like the exception. And so when I saw like in my state, 10 people, no more than 10 people can gather. So I'm seeing that as up to 10 people can gather if they're 6 feet apart. And in the shower this morning, I was like, I wonder if I could mark out 6-foot distance space in the cathedral and get 10 people at a time to come and sing a hymn together. I mean, that's like, is that the best idea for social distance? Of course not. But the point being, I'm desperate for it. Like it's such a part of how I feel connected to the holy. And so I thought, okay, that's like not an option right now, even if I can think of creative ways to do it. And then 2 days ago, I saw this video of these Nashville studio musicians who figured out how to record themselves in their home singing my favorite hymn, which is How Great Thou Art. And then they had an engineer put it together. And so they're singing in harmony in isolation. And it was the first time I had a proper cry since this whole thing started going down.
Wow.
It was a reminder that that more things are possible than I think are possible. And that the story is usually the story of my life and of the world and of this country is usually a lot more textured than I allow it to be, you know, like, so I was just kind of writing about that because to me, like holiness is connection to however that happens. And so I felt connected just watching that video of people singing in harmony, even though they were isolated. So that was the thing that sort of stirred in me from the meditation.
Thanks, Nadia.
Mm-hmm.
Tom?
Yeah, so you guys know Joel Baden, and Joel Baden is a biblical scholar who was my professor at one time, and he is, importantly for the story, he's a non-believing Jew, and he is as good a biblical scholar as there is on earth, and his passion is for the narrative. Mm-hmm. So think of him as a Shakespearean scholar, and that's how he looks at the Bible. It's like one of the greatest collections of stories ever assembled. Which is a good way to think about it, or a helpful way, I find, a healthy way to think about it, no matter what other ways you think about it, just mixing those things together. And so last night, when we have a family meeting every Sunday night where we kind of, it's our own church, let's say, or something, and I do it. And so last night I was talking about, in the book of John, it starts, in the beginning was the Word. Now, what the hell does that mean? In the beginning was the Word. You know, it's an amazing thought if you just sort of think that through, like, wow, okay. And so I said to my sons, I said, if you think about this tiny little virus, think of the volume at which it's speaking right now. You just think of the size of the Word right now. You might not like the Word, you might be against the Word, you might like parts of the Word, whatever, but it's the Word. Like right now, there's this amazing message. It's worldwide. It's singular too, by the way. It's relatively singular. Anyway, and I was just sort of writing about whatever that means, and I don't know what it means. I don't know, but it's something I'm thinking a lot about. Anyway, that's what I wrote about.
Thanks. I was writing about a little bit what you had said in your gratitude, I think, Tom, about the clarity question, because I feel like I'm pulled back and forth between, like, today we're healthy, we have enough, we're fine. Like in this moment, we're fine. But then if I start to think about, well, where will we be in a month, and will we still be here, and where will we be living, and what will the economy look like, and will I have work? And it's so unknown. And for me, the grappling between, like, the comfort, the contentment, and, like, right now, fortunately, I'm okay, we're okay, but I can usually, like, have a plan. And I want to have a plan, but it feels like a hard time to have a plan. So I was writing about my struggle between now and then, and not really knowing what then looks like. So our morning practice is gratitude, meditation, and then journaling. Nadia, I'm curious, like, what are your mornings like? I guess I'm asking, what's the good, the bad, and the ugly of a morning with Nadia bolz-weber? Like, what does it look like?
Well, I usually wake up, between 5 and 6, just naturally. And immediately I drink coffee. So it's a rare occasion when I don't just drink coffee right away. And my partner, Eric, and I have a practice of saying 3 things we're grateful for. I used to, a lot of times I would go first, and then he would just copy my 3. And so then I realized, I should do one and then you do one. So we do that. I'm not a meditator. I don't have that as part of my practice, or really journaling. My spiritual practice is doing my work. So on Sundays right now, I've been writing very honest prayers, not like pious prayers, but just honest ones. Whatever I'm actually feeling, articulating it in prayers, and then publishing them on the corners. And and I'm grateful they've been meaningful to folks, but how I figure out my spiritual life is by doing the work I do. There's no, I'm a person for a living, is what it feels like. And so when I was preaching more regularly, that was my spiritual practice, because I would wrestle with whatever text was assigned for that Sunday. And I would wrestle it and my own demons at the same time. And there's this story in the Hebrew Bible about Jacob wrestling with an angel. And it's when he got a new name, Israel. But He wrestled all night with an angel, and he did not walk away before demanding a blessing, which is always been what I've kind of done in my work. Like, I take my demons and whatever text or whatever situation is going on in the world or whatever, and I wrestle, and I don't walk away from the process before demanding a blessing. And that's my thing. And I generally do that in the mornings. I mean, a lot of times I'm not productive after like 11 a.m., but I get a lot done in the morning.
I think of you as someone who has prayer as a practice. Like, you've brought prayer to life in ways that I'm accustomed to prayer being a little more rote. And so we have a clip of you praying at TNP last year in church on Saturday that we wanted to play real quick. And then I wanted to just ask you to talk about prayer as a practice.
God of compassion, who saw the widow of Nain, we thank you for seeing us, seeing our loneliness and our bravery, seeing the times we can't say what we need to, seeing the ones who have never felt like they are enough, but who you know already are and always have been, seeing the moments when we are more than we thought we could be, seeing what no one else can or will. Thank you for seeing as beautiful what we call ugly, and that in your compassion you wipe away all tears. Teach us to see each other. Reach out and raise us, God of compassion. Touch us as you did the wood on which the widow's son lay, and speak those same words to us. Young man, arise. Little girl, get up. To we who think we're not worthy to be loved and medicate ourselves with food and booze and shopping, say, rise up. To us who have been hurt by those who say they follow you, say, rise up. To those who feel unworthy of forgiveness, say, rise up. To the ones who care for the least of these and who feel too burnout to keep going, say, rise up. To we who are holding on to resentments like a security blanket, who we think will love us back, say, rise up. To those who hide their failings behind their good works, say, rise up. To the unloved child who has no idea that one day they will change the world, say, rise up. Amen.
What's it like seeing yourself?
Well, I wish my nails looked like that because they're a mess right now. Yeah, I guess I really just really grateful that sharing my own needs and process and hope is helpful for other people, because all of my work comes out of my own need in a weird way. So that prayer is still my prayer, you know.
Is it does it just rise up out of you? Or like, do you say, I'm gonna sit down for an hour and write a prayer? What's the practice of creating prayer?
Well, it's the writing, the actual putting words down is just a small part of the end of the process. You know what I mean? So the writing part doesn't often take a long time, but the metabolizing what the need is, you know, trying to figure out what is hurting me or hurting other people that goes largely unspoken but is still operative in our lives. You know, like digging into the truth of that kind of stuff. That's part of, I guess, my spiritual practice. And then the writing, usually it just comes out of going through that process, I guess.
You know, that spirit that you just shared, which to be clear, I think of that as the you that is in there is such a relief for the me types, which, by the way, I think I'm very much in the norm. And a lot of that is, you know, for someone like me, prayer is this thing that in Rome is where the king is. And then all the king's, you know, disciples are out in the neighborhoods, like where I grew up in DC. And it is like this ordained on high methodology and practice that you damn well better get in line with it, or you are in big ass trouble. Right? So for example, you're going to pray for forgiveness. But you don't even want to be thinking about the bad thing you did at that moment. Like, you cannot bring God into that part, right? That's what I was taught. And then as I've gotten older and I've like learned more, but also be largely impacted by you, Nadia, all of a sudden I'm like a whole person all the time. Now that's a lie, because all the time is not true. I lose my way a lot, but I do conceive of that, and it's so helpful to hear that language, because if you believe in a God, God is everything or God is nothing. God is everywhere, and God is in your weaknesses and your strengths, and I don't even know where those lines change.
Well, and that's actually what salvation means. I mean, the root word of salvation is sozo, which means wholeness. Right? So to me, salvation is integration. It means integrating all the parts of ourselves into a whole, the good and the bad, the regrets, the resentments, the selflessness, the charity, all of it are spiritual, physical, sexual, selves all integrated into a whole. That's salvation to me.
Well, and then at that point of identification, I mean, it's such a, I for some reason, I was late to the game of identification, and that, it's so important, I think, in the realm of identification, like to truly know the nuance of your own self and share it. That's the thing I can identify with. That thing you're faking or covering up, that's the thing I'm not even aware of. How am I going to identify on that?
Right.
Anyway, and I think you do that really well. It's a gift.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you remember, Nadia, at the end of your prayer, I asked you for the hard copy of the prayer. And so I have it still on my desk from that prayer that you offered. So thank you.
Oh, lovely. Oh, good. Thanks.
Do you just wake up kind of ready to serve? Like, I need like a cup of tea and I need some journaling. I need all these things to like animate myself. And you just you jump into it?
Yeah, I mean, I have the coffee, and then I can just do it then. I think a lot of stuff happens for me when I'm sleeping, to be honest. I think in this weird way that if I'm wrestling with an idea and can't articulate the truth of it in a way that feels satisfying and it's just eluding me, a lot of times I feel like having a different part of my brain be active while I'm sleeping allows it to make itself known. So maybe that's part of it, but I don't really see it as serving. I have to be reminded that maybe that's the result, is it serves people. It's maybe a little more selfish. I mean, it serves me to articulate these things. I mean, when I was in my parish, my parishioners were like, "We're so glad we have a preacher who's clearly preaching to herself and letting us overhear it." Like that was more my style. And I will say, I'll add to something that's a huge practice for me on a daily basis. I have somewhat long phone calls almost every day of my life with my closest friends. So I have people that I am processing my stuff with, and who I'm talking honestly with and laughing with and listening closely, very with intention to their lives. And I put a high premium on that. So I would say that's part of my practice too. Yeah.
Let me ask a question? I don't know if you guys have noticed this. And so I've been to meetings every morning via Zoom for like 15 days now, amongst all my other meetings, my business meetings. And I can promise you that when I go to my sort of social, personal well-being meetings that I go to, I want to get in at the last second or after it starts, and then I'm going to leave before it ends. You know why? Because I don't want to talk to anybody. And I don't want to talk to anybody because I'm super socially awkward. On Zoom, I'm getting there early. I'm leaving late. I'm totally relaxed. And I'm feeling this new level of intimacy. And I know it's a lack of intimacy in a certain way because it's not the real thing. But it's like halfway. Like all of a sudden I feel more intimate with people through this damn machine in this weird way. I mean, I am famous in my group for showing up at 7:01 and leaving at 7:50. Now I'm hanging. Have you guys experienced? I was thinking about it when you were talking about your phone call, because I can't do the phone. I am so anxious on the phone for some strange reason, it's a construct that doesn't sit well on my soul. This works for me. For some reason, this works for me. Anyway, an observation. You don't have to respond, but it's been interesting.
I mean, this is the deal. Aren't we getting to observe ourselves in such a particular way because of the situation we're in, you know? I mean, yeah. It's I'm trying to really honor when I have something to say. I've been saying it and I'm writing it and I've been offering it, but I'm not pressuring myself. I'm really trying to not be like, hey, it's been 3 days, you better, you know, keep producing, because it needs to come out of a space of it being ready, and then I offer it. I'm not a content provider, you know? And so I realized that in this process of doing these things, doing things differently, that I'm observing things about myself that are both good and bad. And I wanted to figure, and the other day I had nothing to offer. Like literally, I thought, I want to connect with the people who are following me, but I have nothing to offer. And so I did an Instagram live thing for a half an hour, but it was a reverse Q&A. So I said, I have nothing, but I'm going to ask you guys questions. And it was lovely. And one of the things I asked was, what has come into your life or made itself known in this isolation that when the isolation's over, you hope you don't lose?
Yeah.
And the answers were stunning. I mean, what would be the answer for you guys? Like, what's come into your life that because of this that you hope you don't lose entirely when it's over?
I'm thinking about this all the time, and I'm thinking about it with remorse. Because of my own pride and ambition, I think I'm going right back. I think reality is Tom is going to be right back in the same old place he was before. Yeah. And there's a lot. I say this with great respect. In the ledger of the pro and the con of where we are, there's a lot of things in the con column. Number one, health, wellness, right? There's a lot of things in the pro column. Mm-hmm. I'm more intimate with my family. I'm more patient. I'm more calm. I'm not on a plane. I said to my family last night, I'm going to lose my Mosaic status on JetBlue. You know what I mean?
I know.
And it's like, I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to all that. I don't want to go back. I don't want to be shallow. I don't want to be in a hurry. I don't want to be on the train all the time. I don't want to try to be better than other people. I don't want to.
I feel like we need a better phrase than this silver linings, because it sounds kind of grotesque. And I think we want to hold on. There is value here, right? But it's like my feeling is the motion for me is like everything got swept away, right? It's like things got obliterated. Calendars, plans, finances,
401ks.
Right? I mean, 30% of the wealth of our nation, but other things come to life, and there's got to be a way without being cold or without grieving the loss to also see what's come to life and love it, you know. And I feel like I don't even have the language for it, because whenever I say, well, I kind of like that I'm stuck here with my family, I have nowhere to fly, I have nothing on my calendar next week. It's beautiful, you know, but it's sad to say it's beautiful is how I feel.
Maybe it's not a song we keep singing, but it becomes a familiar enough tune that we can remember it when we need to.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning on a morning practice. Tom, good to see you. And Nadia, keep praying for all of us and with all of us and helping all of us. And we'll see you again soon.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.